It would be too strong and too powerful for Crystal Palace, and I think they come away with the win as well, because I do trust in the chemistry that this team actually has, from Alexander Iwobi to Adama Traore, who is a very, very huge nightmare for any fullback to come up against. And then looking at the Ipswich game, the Tractor Boys against the Lily Whites, of course, Ipswich against Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah. I do think that Tottenham Hotspur gave Ipswich their first win this season, and Ipswich, thinking about that, they would maybe feel like playing at home this time, they have the opportunity to actually have a repeat. But with Tottenham Hotspur, I never know what to expect, honestly, because in some of the big games this season, they have been the Tottenham Hotspur that you would want to see. But in the games against some of the lower sides, or the sides who are low on the table, they've been very, very unconvincing and bad, or even terrible, if I do say so myself. But thinking about this game, I think, and I get, as they are languishing bottom of the table, even winning their next 2 games wouldn't guarantee them. I mean, wouldn't even get them out of the 20th position, but they need to do their best against Brighton. I don't really see them coming away with 3 points. Then, of course, the Aston Villa-Chelsea game, the last game, maybe the biggest game of the of today.
Okay, Saturday.
Yeah, of today, not of the weekend, of course. Okay. But I do think that Emery against big sides, like we saw against Liverpool, during the week, they are usually on their game, and I expect Chelsea to actually have another taste of this, of the big game Unai Emery or big game Aston Villa side that we've grown accustomed to in the last year or so. So I think Aston Villa win against Chelsea. That's actually my expectation, and I think that will round up my assessment on the games that are set to take place today in the English Premier League match day 26.
All right, going back to the screen, that's a game in which we're seeing a game between Everton Football Club and Manchester United. Well, the centre referee, he has decided to go check the video assistant referee himself after he's not maybe clear with the decision in which the officials are giving him. But looking at this from Matthias de Ligt and that's Harry Maguire. Was this needless? This was the only player, in the box alongside Beto, who has found himself in an offside position. But to see de Ligt and Maguire place their hands on Ashley Young, and of course there was enough contact.
There was enough contact.
There was enough contact for him to fall. And I'm not even pleased enough with this angle in which they have been shown. Yeah, they should show the reverse angle from behind. Because there was that's de Ligt's arm that's on Ashley Young's shirt. But I wait at the decision of the center referee to see this. Now, you look at this. You look at Maguire. Say you conclude this is not a penalty. Well, this happens to be a penalty. Everything Manchester United have done this afternoon to actually fight back for a win, probably it's going to be undone by the lack of defensive awareness, or let's say a sheer
what?
How is this not a penalty? Now you talk about the officials. You talk about everything in England. How is this not a penalty for Manchester United? Now take a look at this angle. This angle was not shown. This angle was not shown. This angle was not shown on screen. This angle was not shown on screen. Look at Matthias de Ligt pulling Ashley Young.
That's a penalty any day of the week.
Look, take a look at. See this. See this.
That's terrible officiating. That's very bad officiating. That's a penalty.
Why are you saving their? You saved the blushes of Manchester United with this sheer lack of. Well, we have to move on now. We actually need to pay this bill. When we come back, we'll still deliberate some more about that's a decision by the centre referee between Manchester United and Everton. Here we go.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9. Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Àwa ni 𝐃𝐈𝐒, a jẹ́ olùṣàkóso ọ̀rọ̀ fún gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà. A ní iṣẹ́ kan ṣoṣo, òun náà ni láti ṣe ìrànlọ́wọ́ fún wọn bí owó rẹ̀ ṣe máa gbèrú sí i. Ohun tí ó dára ni pé tí o bá ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun fún owó rẹ̀, ó yẹ kí owó rẹ̀ náà ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun fún ọ. Gbogbo ohun tí o nílò ni fóònù alágbèéká láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìfowópamọ́ fún ọjọ́ iwájú rẹ lónìí. forúkọsílẹ̀ lórí www.𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐄𝐎.com láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìfowópamọ́ àti ìdókòwò lónìí.
Ẹ̀yin fans mi. It's okay. Ẹ lọ sórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ ní 32FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ àsáàpù. It's okay.
Mariaba lawan sala oṣù ìkéde Ramadan.
Ahlan wa sahlan famarhaba ya sharral karim. Oṣù bùkún, oṣù àforíjìn, oṣù Ramadan máa wulẹ̀ máa rọra. Oṣù tí Ọlọ́run Ọba Allah sọ wípé gbogbo ẹni bá ṣe dáadáa kan níbẹ̀ òun yóò san ní ẹ̀san lọ́pọ̀. Nínú iṣẹ́ ládá tí ẹ̀dá tún lè ṣe, tí ládá ẹ̀dá ó tún fi tẹ̀sùn lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run Ọba Allah. Ó ní kí ẹ̀dá ó máa ná nínú ohun tí Ọlọ́run fún lóore sójú ọ̀nà tọlọ́run. Kí ládá tèmi tìrẹ lè tún tẹ̀sùn lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run Ọba Allah. Pàtàkì jùlọ nínú oṣù Ramadan. Ìdí nìyí tí ìkànnì 32FM 94.9 tá a kalẹ̀ ká sájà kan kòkó ọ̀sùgbẹ̀ nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn fi ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ àwọn ètò ọlọ́kun òjọ̀kan tí a lè ṣe onígbọ̀wọ́ rẹ̀ nínú oṣù Ramadan náà yìí láti jẹ́ kí ládàá tiwa náà tún kún kẹ́kẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run Ọba. Àwọn ètò tí a lè ṣe onígbọ̀wọ́ rẹ̀ bíi wáàsí ọlọ́gbọ̀n ìṣẹ́jú, oníṣẹ́jú mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún, oníṣẹ́jú mẹ́wàá àti oníṣẹ́jú márùn-ún. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ìrun pípè lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan àti àwọn ètò kíní àti ètò ìpolówó ọjà lówó tí ò gajara lọ. Fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ̀lọ́ Ali ní 081 43 38 0224, Mr. Yusuf 080 53 56 11 31. Ramadan ọdún yìí kò ní jẹ́ àṣemọ fún wa o. Allahumma àmín.
Ayọ̀ ti fi dòde oṣù Ramadan Mariaba.
32FM News. First, we're telling real stories.
We air stories from the perspectives of the people. Stories that our people can relate with.
In news delivery, we are fast, objective, and accurate.
We're all about changing the narratives by telling underreported stories and bringing those behind the news to your doorsteps.
At 12 noon and 4 p.m., we will continue to bring you comprehensive and factual news at home and across our various social platforms.
The stories you need to keep up with, from community news to sports, business, politics, and a lot more.
32FM News, first with telling real stories.
Àwa ni 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐿, a jẹ́ olùṣàkóso ọ̀rọ̀ fún gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà. A ní iṣẹ́ kan ṣoṣo, òun náà ni láti ṣe ìrànlọ́wọ́ fún wọn bí owó rẹ̀ ṣe máa gbèrú sí i. Ohun tí ó dára ni pé tí o bá ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun fún owó rẹ̀, ó yẹ kí owó rẹ̀ náà ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun fún ọ. Gbogbo ohun tí o nílò ni fóònù alágbèéká láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìfowópamọ́ fún ọjọ́ iwájú rẹ lónìí. Forúkọsílẹ̀ lórí www.𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐄𝐎.com láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìfowópamọ́ àti ìdókòwò lónìí.
Happiness is a choice that we want you to make always. Choose to be happy. Choose 32FM 94.9 Ibadan.
Oh, what a feeling. Look what we've overcome. Oh, I'm gonna wave my flag and count all the reasons we are the champions. There ain't no turning back. Saying, oh, can't you taste the feeling? Saying, oh, we all together singing. Look how far we come now. There's beauty in our unity we found. I'm ready. We still got a long way, but look how far we come now.
All right, welcome back. The program is still The Pitch, right here on 32FM 94.9. Well, all right, let's move away from the game that went down. They have the Goodson back. We will still come back to definitely talk about that. But then, let's quickly go straight into the reactions from the things that we have for us on the show this afternoon. Starting from yesterday, where Lorenzo Lucas' argument with teammates about him taking a first-half penalty has carried Indonesia's 1-0 win at Lecce, India, in the Italian Serie A. That's over the weekend. That was on Friday. But Captain Florent Thauvin, the French international, is Indonesia's regular penalty taker. But Luka grabbed the ball and pushed away teammates who came to discuss his decision. But then we talk about this that happened, and I would ask you, what can you really say about this? And you say this is not a penalty. Sorry to digress from there. See this angle was not shown at all.
That's what I'm saying. last two angles that have been shown since then.
This was the only angle given. That angle was not shown.
The penalty was supposed to be given. That's terrible. That's a bad call by the referee there. Come on, this is a penalty any day of the week, and I'm sure that's what is going to be deliberated now, all over the footballing world.
You know, I think I've come to terms with the decision where you don't ask for enough angles. You are the alpha and omega. Ask for enough angles before you conclude. You keep circling around that one angle you were showed. There are so many angles. In fact, when the video assistant referee was even reviewing it, this angle I'm seeing now was not even shown also. It wasn't shown. And there are different angles to all of these things. And then you say this is not a penalty. You say he dived. Matthias De Ligt pulled. Amari Maguire pulled. This is just a sheer lack of ownership. That's from the center referee. But going straight to the game that went on yesterday, that's for Udinise's victory against the Lecce. Over the week, during the week rather, we had Gasperini of Atlanta Football Club pass that's a horrible comment as regards the African best player, that's Ademola Lookman. And I think, for Ademola Lookman, he came out to release a statement saying that it was the designated penalty taker who told him, boy, you can do this. Let's get ourselves back on track to actually make a comeback in this game against Club Brugge. But yesterday, it was a different issue. Florent Thauvin, he didn't consent to it. And Lorenzo Lucas, he was the one who scored the goal. And after 36 minutes, when he scored the penalty, this head coach actually picked him off the field of play. So this is a deliberation, a back and forth between players, managers, and of course the team.
First of all, SAMIES, I would say that this situation, as similar as it is to the Ademola Lookman situation, it's not the same thing, because Ademola Lookman was actually asked given the penalty duties in that game by the designated penalty taker. This decision made by Lorenzo Lucas is a completely different one, as it was very evident that he was arguing with his teammates as well as the designated penalty taker in Florent Thauvin. I mean, come on, this is not even similar at all. And another thing I want to say is that I think that the reaction by his teammates were correct. And of course, he did do the right thing by scoring at the end of the day. That's the only right thing I would say that he even did in that situation. Because if he didn't score, rightfully so, if afterwards he was even criticized for missing, because even everybody misses penalties, I think it would be justified. But in the situation that he found himself, he should have done the right thing and just let the designated penalty taker do his duty. And I think that was a really bad one, or poor teamwork and professionalism from Lorenzo Lucas. That should not be the case, especially in a game where you wanted to win and you needed to win, and looking at how that must have even made you and your teammates look in the eyes of many.
Well, in the eyes of many, I think we'll see the decision made by the head coach in their next game. And also for Atlanta's coach, Gasperini, he said that he never intended to offend Ademola Lookman by saying the striker is one of the worst penalty takers he has ever seen after the home Champions League defeat by Club Brugge. So why wouldn't you come out to defend Ademola Lookman at first?
I think he's a very emotional manager, which is fine, but there's just a line that you don't cross. There are certain lines you don't cross. And apparently this is not the first time that he has actually had issues with players. Like in the past, he had an issue with, that is Papu Gomez, one of the greatest players to ever play for Atalanta. And at the end of the day, the issue could not be resolved. Even though Papu Gomez did ask for Gasperini to apologize, at the end of the day, he was sold and Gasperini stayed and continued on as manager and is still the manager. But I think that in this situation, due to how emotional Gasperini can be in terms of his expressions, he said what he was not supposed to say, which is giving the press a kind of a bad impression of one of his best players. Oh, dare I say his best player in Ademola Lookman. And I do think that in a situation like that where your own player misses a penalty, what you are supposed to do is back him. You don't go attacking him like that in the press. And so now even say he's one of the worst penalty takers you've ever seen. That is actually berating your own player. And that shouldn't be something that you should condone. And that shouldn't be something that is kind of exhibited by a manager, especially looking at how Ademola Lookman has grown with Atalanta. I do not think it was very fair, and I do hope that he has apologized to Ademola Lookman, because that's the bare minimum that is actually required in the situation.
Well, let's hope that he can actually continue to make more apologies to Ademola Lookman, because the man looks likely that Ademola Lookman is going to leave Atlanta during the summer. But also still talking about managers, we're talking about their team. Carlo Ancelotti said the La Liga title race reached the point where you can't slip up against that Barcelona and Atletico de Madrid. Remember that Barcelona and Real Madrid, they are locked on 51 points, while Atletico de Madrid, they have 50 points. And of course, they go into the games this weekend. For Barcelona, I think they would be up against Las Palmas. Yes, they'll be up against Las Palmas, while Valencia at the Mestalla Stadium would welcome Atletico de Madrid, while Real Madrid would have their game that's for tomorrow against Girona. Well, the Spanish La Liga, what a title race we are having, and also in the Italian Serie A.
Yeah, especially it's very good that you actually pointed out or highlighted those two leagues, because something funny has actually been happening this season in those respective leagues, as it seems like three clubs, I'll say three teams, have been taking turns in topping the table, heading into different game weeks. As you've seen in the Spanish La Liga, this weekend, you can see that Atletico Madrid are at top of the table. Next weekend, you can see that it's Real Madrid, as they did capitalize on one of Barcelona or Atletico Madrid dropping points. Then another week, you see that it's FC Barcelona that are top of the table, because Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid failed to pick up 3 points in their respective games. And then in the Italian Serie A, sometimes you see Napoli winning convincingly or winning. Sometimes you see them have a good win, then next weekend they fail to pick up the 3 points. You say the same thing with Inter Milan. You say the same thing with Atalanta as well. So I do think it's been very entertaining looking at those leagues. And come the end of the season, whoever would win it, I think it would probably go to the final day or the last couple of games, as it doesn't seem as clear-cut that one or two teams, or one team anyway, is the clear front runner. And I think that's very exciting to actually witness.
Well, being a good thing to witness, I think. Though the same can be said about, maybe the German Bundesliga, where there's still 8 points difference, 7 points or 8 points difference between the top two. That's Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen. And also in England, we have presently, I think, 8 points. So a victory for Arsenal will reduce it to 5 points, with the same number of games played. But then, we know how these things are in the French League on runaway winners, Paris Saint-Germain. Let's see how that is also. But quickly, moving on to the games going on across centers. Well, the 3:15 p.m. kickoff that is begun. That's in the German Bundesliga. And of course, we have those games right on our screen. Borussia Mönchengladbach against Augsburg 0-0. Bayer Leverkusen, they found the back of the net against Austin Kell. And it is Patrick Schick who scored the goal. You're wondering. For Mainz against St. Pauli, it is 0-0. Wolfsburg against the Bochum 0-0. And in the Italian Serie A, Parma, they've scored against Bologna 1-0. Lazio against Venezia 0-0. And in Spain, Espanyol, they found the back of the net against Alaves 1-0 in the 87th minute of that encounter. But then, we all know how these things are, but let me just ask you, are you so excited with the draws of the UEFA Champions League we had? Yesterday?
I would say so. I would say that it's actually a very good draw. All things considered, if you look at the games that are going to be played, I think Liverpool against Paris Saint-Germain, that's a very exciting game. Then also we have a Madrid derby in the UEFA Champions League. So early on as well, in the round of 16, I think that's always exciting when you get Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid to play against one another. Then, of course, Arsenal playing against PSV and potentially playing against Real Madrid in the quarterfinals if both teams actually do win. I think that's actually exciting. And all things considered, I would say that and of course, the Bayer Leverkusen Bayern Munich game as well. So I'll say, the Champions League draw, round of 16 games are going to be... I'm excited to actually watch these games.
Well, being so excited, well, definitely, I think that's one to go. You know, it was not only the Champions League, we had the Europa League and also the Europa Conference League draws also go down yesterday. But we go to tomorrow, there are actions across different centres. That's for tomorrow. Newcastle will be up against Nottingham Forest. Both sides, I think, they lost their last outings for Newcastle. You'd say that they lost in their last game against Manchester City 4-0. Nottingham Forest lost to Fulham Football Club 2-1. And this is a game where both teams will want to come back and, of course, make a statement that's in their quest to finish in the top 4. For Newcastle, they are presently that's 7th with 41 points, while Nottingham Forest are 3rd with 47 points. So a victory for Newcastle will take them to 44 points, and then a victory for Nottingham Forest also will take them to 50 points. Well, it's just about who needs it the more. And I remember when both sides met last season, it was Chris Wood who scored those goals against that Newcastle Football Club when they met last season. For Nottingham Forest, rather, I think it was in that game they won. They won that encounter. That was last season. Well, yes, I think I'm right. I'm right. The one that encounter, we have scored a hat-trick for himself. So, how excited are you also about this encounter that got down?
I think it's a good game to actually, for both sides, and this is a good game to watch even as a neutral, because Chris Wood, first of all, we have to remember that this is a former player of Newcastle United. Yep. He didn't do well at Newcastle United, and he kind of had, or has had so far, a redemption arc with Nottingham Forest being one of the best strikers in the league this season, especially. He's one of the highest goal scorers in top 5, if you look at it this season. And Newcastle United, of course, they have a high-flying Alexander Isak, who is scoring goals for fun. But for some reason, Newcastle United have just struggled to match the levels of 2 seasons ago, where they actually finished in the top 4. So I do think that this game is a very crucial one. It's a very crucial game for the top 4 battle. And I do think that this game is going to shape up the rest of the season in a way, because I do think that when these sides come against one another, picking up the maximum points is super important, because yes, you are expected to beat the other teams that are much lower than you, but of course when you go against teams that are actually fighting for a spot, the same spot as you, picking up 3 points only increases your own advantage directly. And I do think that Newcastle playing at home, Goodison Park is a very scary place to go. You can ask Liverpool, you can ask Arsenal, you can ask a lot of these big teams, you can ask even Manchester City. Very scary place to go. So I do think that this game for Newcastle United is one of utmost importance. And I really don't have a prediction anyway, but I think it's going to be end to end, especially looking at how both teams can play in transition. If the game actually requires it, they have so many pacey players on display. You have Anthony Gordon for Newcastle. You have Anthony Elanga
for
Nottingham Forest. You can think about Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's actually a very intelligent winger. And I like the way in which he has actually revived his career there at Nottingham Forest. You think about the strikers as well. This guy is, Chris Wood going up against Alexander Isak. This is going to be a nice battle. Then don't forget the defenders as well. So I do think that
Murillo.
Yeah, Murillo. You think about even on Newcastle side, you have Fabian Schär and so. Good game all things considered. This will be something that actually shapes up nicely as we go towards the end or the final stretch of games of the season. And for Newcastle, they just have to start picking up wins consistently and try to even peep maybe Nottingham Forest at the end of the season, because first of all, you have to actually start by making them drop points directly, and you won't get a better opportunity to do that than now. And also, I think they have Goodison Park. They have St. James Park on their side.
Well, having that on the side, we go to the biggest game is set to go down tomorrow, Manchester City against Liverpool. What would this game bring forth? Like I said, probably a statement for Manchester City and also for Liverpool, also stamping their authority the more in the bid to win the league.
Yes, and I think for Liverpool, this is a game that they I mean, obviously, it goes without saying, but they have to win. They just have to win. First of all, Liverpool haven't won it at Etihad since 2015. So, this is actually a huge chance to break the 10-year, I want to say, deadlock. And Liverpool, in as much as they have dropped points in their last 2 away games, this is the one game that they just have to find a way of winning, because you don't want to go into a situation whereby you are maybe 2 points behind the Arsenal side that are chasing you, where you actually have a lot of the advantage. And a Manchester City side that actually dropped by several levels this season, made some signings, and they actually look like they are starting to string wins together again. This is a game where you go and assert your dominance and show why you are the better side this season. Liverpool have Mohamed Salah, who is having a record-breaking season and all-timer season, all things considered, having 23 or 24 goals and 15 assists in the Premier League. That's almost 40 goal contributions, high-flying. Then you think about how the midfield has actually worked well together. Alexander McAllister, Ryan Gravenberch, even sometimes Curtis Jones, Dominic Szoboszlai. So, and of course, they have the ever-solid Virgil van Dijk. So, this is a game that they actually have to just go into, and in as much as it's at the Etihad, find a way of getting a narrow win, and defensive solidity is something that they have to really get, because I think in their last couple of away games, they've conceded 2 goals in each, which is not a very good thing. So you don't want to go into the Etihad conceding 2 goals and expecting to be able to get the 3 points, as that will not be possible.
Well, let's see how that will go down for both sides. And of course, we move also to another center where Lyon will be up against Paris Saint-Germain. Well, this is another big game that's in France. But would this actually bring a much more significance? Remember that Paris Saint-Germain, they actually have a 10 points gap over second place, the Marseille, and also a 20-point lead over Lyon, who are seated 6th in the French Ligue 1. But going into this encounter, Paris Saint-Germain, they are yet to lose in the league this season. Well, the question is just, can Lyon end Paris Saint-Germain's unbeaten record in the league? That's the only question going into this encounter. And remember, Paris Saint-Germain's last game, they actually loved the sight of Brest. That's in the UEFA Champions League, winning by 7-0. Yeah. I don't know why you're looking at me.
Yeah, I mean, Paris Saint-Germain really asserted dominance. In both legs, it almost seemed like a Ligue 1 game at some point. With how easy it became. It was a Ligue 1 game. It was a Ligue 1
opposition.
It did not even seem like it was a Champions League encounter, especially that second leg. It just seemed too easy, especially Nuno Mendes on the left side. This is a left back that kept going at the full back with ease and kept finding spaces, finding his way in and around the box and just being threatening. Then you had, of course, the Vitinha, who was just dominant. You had the Kvaratskhelia having a very good game. Bradley Barcola as well, scoring a very, very good goal. The way in which he took it, I mean, I was so impressed. And I think PSG have all of the momentum, all of the courage, and everything going on their side. And going away from home to Lyon, I do think that it's not going to pose... I mean, I'm not going to say it's not going to pose as much of a threat, but I do think that they are going to stamp their authority in this game. I think they are going to actually stretch the lead at the top of the table. I mean, their lead over Lyon to 23 points, as this is a big chance to do that. And Lyon do need this win as well in their quest for Champions League places, as they are 4 points off Champions League places. But I just feel like this test is going to be too much going up against the Paris Saint-Germain side. And I feel like Paris Saint-Germain are going to just show their dominance and win this game as well. But like you said, the question is if Lyon can even get anything from this game, which I think they will struggle to do.
All right, in the German Bundesliga, Bayern Munich also be up against Eintracht Frankfurt. And remember, Noam Mamouche, who is also probably at the top of quite a few things that's in the German Bundesliga. He has 15 goals before he left, and also I think it tops at the assist chart. Also, we'll talk about the German Bundesliga, but now he has left all of that to play for Manchester City and decides they go head-to-head against each other. And they take a look at the standings for that's Bayern Munich. They are top with 55 points, and then Eintracht Frankfurt are third with 42 points. And so would this actually be a game also where they would draw Bayer Leverkusen Bayern Munich rather, they'll draw them down just to reduce the deficit at the top of the standing and also keep them within reach in a bid to also fight for the German Bundesliga title.
Bayern Munich have only lost once this season. SAMIES, we have to remember that in the
same as
German
Leverkusen.
Bundesliga. Same as, but Bayer Leverkusen have drawn far too many games. I feel like going into this game, the one thing on Bayern Munich's mind is to assert show their authority early.
But Bayern Munich have they been really convincing
but they are playing
under their new manager.
They are playing at the Allianz Arena.
So
it's always
left it so late.
No, you can't just say. I understand that Celtic played a very good game.
So are you saying Eintracht Frankfurt?
I'm saying playing against Eintracht Frankfurt at the Allianz Arena. I feel like they are going to. They just have to right their wrongs from. I mean, they are almost wrongs anyway from the way they played against Celtic, and I do think that it's a different
they
ball
played
game.
Against Bayer Leverkusen.
It's a different ball game.
They didn't have a shot on target.
Yeah, it's a different ball game when you play in the German Bundesliga, and credit to Leverkusen for raising the standards in the Bundesliga, because for so long Bayern Munich were the only team that could actually do anything worth commending in Germany. So I do feel like losing Omar Mamouche was a huge deal. Of course, they have 𝐒𝐿, and I think he's a very good player. I think the entire Frankfurt side have been impressive so far this season, but still a level below the top two sides. And I feel like this game, super tough, but like I said, SAMIES, it's the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich rarely lose there, regardless of what you want to say about how they've been playing this season. I do think it plays a part. And I do think, again, think about this, the team with the better players usually comes up on top most of the time. And I think we're going to see maybe such a situation again.
Well, let's see how that would be. But just before we leave the show, before we join up with our partners, the BBC, and well, Borussia Mönchengladbach against Augsburg, 21 minutes is still 0-0. Bayer Leverkusen still holds their 1-goal advantage over. That's Austin Kerr. Patrick Schick was the goal scorer. And in other fixtures in the German Bundesliga, it is still 0-0. You talk about Mainz against St. Pauli, Augsburg against Bochum. And it's halftime also in the Italian Serie A, where Parma, they have that's a 1-goal lead over Bologna, and then Venezia against Torino. It is against Lazio rather. It is a 0-0. Well, full-time Alaves against Espanyol. Espanyol came out victorious, 1-0. Well, we leave the remaining until that's where we come on Monday to discuss about the headlines making the rounds in the exciting world of sports. Remember that on the show this afternoon, it's all about football, but we'll come on Monday and discuss about sports at large. That fight is set to go down. The Bakole against Joseph Parker, the NBA games. We'll talk about Nigerian basketball team, also the D Tigers. We'll talk about all of this and where we'll come on the Monday. And thank you so much to everyone who has joined us on today's edition of the program, The Pitch, right on 32 FM. I've done this alongside Nif Femi. Till we come again, and that's next weekend. Until then, have a splendid weekend.
So your two colors. Oh, what a feeling. Look what we've overcome.